All right, it is Fright Night with First Fee, and we have Fuzzy and Silent Cipher with us. Matt is at, I believe he said Chiller this weekend,
Mhm.
so he's hopping around to the various conventions he usually does. So let's get started with Cipher.
Well, hi. It's good to be back with you guys. Sorry, I had you coming through YouTube also, so I was getting reverb echo on you. But we're good now. I'm good. It's good to be seeing you guys. Good to be hanging out. Looking forward to talking some Hellraiser. It's been a while since I've thought about or watched any of the Hellraiser stuff. So this will be a fun conversation. Um,
Mm-hmm.
been Not been playing a ton, but I was playing Balatro some more this week. I don't know if you've ever heard of that little game. Um, but I did finally make some progress. I successfully ran a gold stake run in Balatro, so I've now beaten the game on the hardest difficulty, which is freaking awesome. Um, and now it's time to do it with the rest of the decks, and so the abuse continues as we move forward. Um, but besides that, yeah, just watching some other movies and stuff. I accidentally had one of my coworkers watch Troll 2 when we ended up doing that one, and so like every workday has consisted of a whole bunch of talk about Troll 2, one-liners and all that stuff. And I find as there's been a couple weeks since we've been tortured with that I actually am somewhat fond of some of those instances in that movie now, whereas when I watched it, I was just infuriated. So it's interesting how it started to wear on me over time.
It does that.
Yeah, yep, just like an STD, it's with you forever.
All right, been going on with you, Fuzzy?
Not too much. Haven't done as much gaming as I would probably like because there's been quite a few games that have dropped this week or within the past week or so. Still haven't got at least them downloaded to the either to the PC or to the console, but a lot of running around to do. Uh, you had to do pictures. You had to get your makeup done. You already had your hair
Uh
done from
huh.
last week, and
Uh huh.
but other than that, just relaxing with Fee, considering she's off all week. You know, spring break or whatever it might be, type of thing. So that was enjoyable. But yeah, just relaxing. I guess enjoying time off with the wife, and I don't know, watching some movies. But yeah, we definitely got to get into this Hellraiser because some weird things. Definitely some weird things. And then I think what was it last week that we watched Until Dawn, or was that early
Yes.
this week? Okay, that was
Yes.
last week. Yeah.
Yes. We'll talk
Oh,
about that.
No, but
We'll talk about that.
glad to be here with you guys. Yeah, this was a fun movie, but got some pointed topic or stuff to talk about with it. But yeah, we're gonna have a good one tonight. What about you, Fee?
So,
What have you been up to?
um, so yeah, I had spring break, and I've had spring break since the 18th until I go back on Monday. So I had this whole entire week, plus the 2 weekends and the Friday before then. It was nice. I got to do some stuff. Like Fuzzy said, I got some pictures done, so I asked one of my friends to do my makeup. He came over to do my makeup, and then Fuzzy got to take pictures. Um, so it was just getting dressed in clothes that I think would be good for a couple of the movies that I'm going to be doing. Um, and of course, Fuzzy gets something out of it too. It's not like he's taking pictures just to take pictures. So we had a fun time
allegedly.
and everything. So yeah. Um, But we also got to watch Until Dawn, the new movie that actually comes out today. If anybody has been kind of deciding, should I watch this? It was actually really good. I don't know if it's necessarily going to be a cult classic, but I can definitely say it's very action packed. It has some, really good death scenes in it. Some are very interesting. Some are just very fun. The creatures that were in there, some of them were reminiscent of, you know, some other movies that we've seen before. So the director and the writer paid a lot of homage to, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I saw a little bit of Clown Motel in there. What were the other movies that you thought of, Fuzzy?
No, those are about the main ones that came to mind. I mean,
Well,
I guess you could say, well, you got a guy wearing a clown mask for part of it, and
mhm,
then you had, I guess, just the way they were moving.
yeah,
It gave me a vibe of almost like a cross between what you would expect to see from the Last of Us, or like even 28 Days kind of thing, as far as they were
mhm,
moving. But they weren't like rage or infected with some sort of like
mhm,
fungus or something like that. But
yeah,
they definitely had that, hunting human vibe about them, I
mhm,
guess you could say.
yeah. And there's a little Evil Dead in there too. You got a little bit of a feel of Evil Dead
Mm,
as well. And there was some new stuff. Um, but like I said, it was very action packed. It didn't feel as long as it was. Um, so that was a good thing. It definitely went very quickly. So yeah, and one of the actresses is actually the same one that played in Hellraiser the reboot. Now it's not Jamie Clayton.
Oh,
It's not Jamie Clayton. It's not the one that replaced Doug Bradley as Pinhead. It's actually the actress that
is it Odessa?
Odessa.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So Odessa, she is one of the main characters. There's, a group of basically, if you remember the storyline in the video, there, from what I understand, Fuzzy said there were like different ones in different locations that they did it in. So there's multiple games for Until Dawn. Am I right?
Well, there's multiple games from that
Yes.
same studio kind of thing, but
Yeah.
the main game, like either that or I'm confusing it with the ones where they have the story on the boat type of thing, and then there
Mhm.
was like other ones where they were like in the desert. But for the main
Yeah.
one, for Until Dawn, I think they try to follow some of that stuff from the game, but I don't think it lined up exact. But then again, I haven't played the game, so
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
But this
So
is this is the one in the town. Basically, it's in a town about the missing people, and
mhm,
one of them happens to be um the sister of one of the girls in the group. That's kind of like the storyline. And they
yeah,
go, and when they get to the actual place that the sister went missing, um they wind up repeatedly dying, and they're trying to figure out how to get out of the situation, which kind of like is the theme of the video games from what I understand.
mm.
But there were several other things that they changed. So that's all I know because I never played the video games. I don't know if you guys did.
I did not end up playing Until Dawn. But the ones that you were talking about, you're talking primarily about Dark Pictures Anthology.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
Um, and
Yeah.
those were fun. I've played a couple of those, and those are really good. Um, I've heard good things on this one, but at the time it was only a PlayStation title, and I don't think at that time I had a PlayStation around the house. Um, what, I think it was PS4, right? I had a
Yeah.
PS3, so I couldn't play it. Um, I was actually going to ask you because I figured you had played it, so I was going to ask you which one you preferred. But I guess both of us are going to have to go back and play it so we can see what we think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a good watch if you're looking for something to watch that is horror, that you know you just want something that's fun or whatever. Do I think this is something that's I'm gonna want to repeat and revisit? I don't know yet until you know it comes out on streaming. But yeah, it's a good watch. What do you think, Fezzy?
I think it was a good watch, although, some of the stuff was like your typical situations where people run away and stumble or get a bear trap on their leg kind of thing. But it was funny as far as some of the deaths that they've had are spectacular, and come from like weird occurrences kind of things. I don't want to spoil too much in that regard, but I
Yeah.
think some of the death scenes were if you're into gore, yeah, I
Hmm.
think some of the death scenes are worth the
Yeah.
watch and just in itself type of thing.
Yeah. And there was humor in it between the characters and stuff like that. And you always have, you know, those bad decisions that you make in the film, and they kind of capitalize on that. Um but at the same time, they also kind of try and make it into making it seem like it was a good choice in the first place. So it has some surprises to it. I think that's why Fuzzy doesn't want to spoil too much.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. It looks like it did okay on reviews and stuff too. So it seems like it is worth a watch. I got to go see that one, and then I still got to see that other one, Drop, that you guys mentioned. Although
Yeah, Drop.
I think at this point that one's about to hit digital. So I
Yeah.
might just hang tight and catch on there now.
Yeah. Yeah. But I would definitely see that one. Now, when we went to Until Dawn, we went to, of course, advanced screening, and that was a production in itself, as always, because it was in Philly. You want to talk about that, Fuzzy?
Just the aspect of parking, I guess, is about the only thing. Like,
Mhm.
Just
I hate.
finding the place.
Well, finding the place was another thing because of the construction right in that area. And it's like they don't really show you a picture of the front of the place. And it's like, all right, you look for the green awning. Oh, we've passed the the parking garage. We got to circle back. But oh, we ran across. Was and this is a first because I'm used to every other street being a one way. It was like 3 or 4 streets back to back to back, one way in the opposite direction of where we wanted to go. So it's like, all right. So, construction being what it is, I that's why I hate going into the city when there's a lot of construction, at least where you're supposed to be, going and stuff like that. But outside of that, I don't like paying for parking like the same amount the amounts that they charge in Philly versus like if we go to Westchester or just in case if we go to a theater like close by, they have their own parking lots. But I understand it's the city. It's kind of one of those things you kind of have to get used to. But the parking garage felt a little bit tight in comparison. But once again, it's a city parking lot, not meant for like a mall or whatever kind of deal. But outside
Right.
of that, it wasn't too bad. But traffic,
Yeah.
traffic being traffic, that's probably my biggest Achilles heel is I don't miss traffic.
No, we don't. So I can also say that when we were there, we were talking to some of the people because, it was a lot of people from Monster Mania and stuff like that, that go to these things. And we were talking, and we heard one of the guys. I guess the guy overheard our conversation, about Sinners, and he said he went to it and it was not as good as the reviewers were claiming.
Really?
Yeah,
Yes. So
I
he said that majority of the movie was slow, not a lot of action, a lot of build up, but not necessarily character development build up.
Mm.
Yeah, and I mean this movie I believe is like 2 hours long, I think.
Yeah,
It's
it's
a little
about
over
2 hours and 15. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he said maybe the last half an hour was action packed.
So did you guys see it?
No, not yet.
No.
Okay,
But
so
I'm not buying that guy's review of it in comparison. Like I've those that I've talked to that have seen it, like only one other person may mention that it is a little bit more of a slow burn leading up, but the rest of what he was saying didn't really match from several people who've seen it.
So I did see it. That was actually one of the things I saw this last week. We went and saw it in IMAX.
Yeah.
And yes, I will agree that a large majority of the movie is a little bit of a slower burn. Yes, for sure. But the idea of it not having character development over that time blows my mind because there's a lot of character development in that movie. I won't go into detail. What's that?
Is the character development really worth it for the end?
I personally thought that it was really good for it because if you've seen the trailer, you know that you're centered around these two brothers, right, and their upbringing and whatever's going on. And I feel like there's enough there that makes it an interesting experience, like an interesting story and narrative that they're trying to put together for this. And I will definitely agree, like towards the last maybe half hour to 45, it pops off. And so, yes, that is very accurate. But I thought the build up to it was really good. Personally, I thought the story was interesting. The very heavy like South musical background and all that type of stuff going on in it was like really cool. It had a lot of character, had a lot of charisma to it, just because it oozed personality for me. But we can talk about it more obviously in the future. But I would definitely recommend it, and I think maybe that person just has ADD and just doesn't want to sit still for a minute.
Maybe it's that, but here's the thing: I've been spoiled by some really great movies. Now I'm trying to get the impression. If I get it wrong, tell me. Is this kind of like a vampire movie, or is it something different?
Sure. They touch on it in the trailer, so I'm not spoiling anything if I say like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that there's maybe some sort of vampiric presence.
Okay, because I've been really, really spoiled by multiple great movies when it comes to vampires, but Thirst was one of them.
I haven't seen that
Has
one.
anybody watched Thirst?
Mm-mm.
No.
I don't remember if I have or not.
And the other one was Near Dark.
Also, no idea.
Never. Oh my god. Lance Henriksen played in Near Dark.
Oh yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So, and the other one was Thirst, and Thirst was kind of similar. Remember when we did the movie with Jason Mewes in it?
Yeah. Bitten or something.
Bitten. Yeah. It was the same themes, but they did it differently. There was more lore to it that kind of made more sense. Let me see if I can get at least
Thirst. Is this the one that has Adam Arkin in it? No, this is a TV series thing. Never mind.
No, it was Thirst 2009, I think. No, it's not this one.
2010, right?
2010, I think it was.
There's one from 79 too.
No,
I see the one you're talking about. Thirst, yeah, okay. 20.
Yeah, the one with the blonde
2009. Oh, Wait, maybe it's not the. Oh no,
Nope, not
this is a
that one.
foreign one.
2015.
Good Lord, there's a lot of thirst.
Oh, no.
Everyone's
Was it
thirsty. Damn it.
2015? No, I don't think it was.
Dude,
Here
I
it
don't
is.
know.
The Thirst. It's called The
There's one
Thirst.
from 49.
Yeah, it's called The Thirst, and it's
The
2006. The Thirst.
Okay.
The Thirst.
Let's
Oh,
see.
okay. Okay, I found
So
it.
it's like Requiem for a Dream. This is their tagline. It's Requiem for a Dream meets Near Dark.
So if anyone's interested in watching this one, it's free on Fandango now. It looks like,
Yeah.
or Voodoo if you still call it that, like I do.
Yeah, it's so basically it's a woman dying of a terminal illness discovers that the only way to save herself may be death itself. But they did the addiction part so well, and they did it from they carried that theme all the way out from beginning to end. It literally opens with the main character, I believe it's Matt Kessler, who plays Max. He is describing how his girlfriend has relapsed in his mind. He believes so. He goes to basically a meeting or whatever, like Narcotics Anonymous or whatever it's called, and he goes there and he's describing how she didn't tell him and all this other stuff, but he's like I know that chemical smell that we try and use to clean up when we throw up and all this other stuff. It just carries it from that minute to the actual ending, and it is just kind of a beautiful chaos throughout the whole entire movie. And Adam Baldwin plays in this one.
Yeah, and Jeremy Sisto
Lenny.
too.
And Jeremy Sisto, and he's great. He also did one with Jeremy Sisto. He did another movie with I think it was not Heather Graham. Well, he did May. But he did another one that was
Broken with Heather Graham.
Yeah, he did Broken, yeah. And I love that one too. As well. So it's just really great. And you guys should check that one out. But I've been spoiled when it comes to vampire movies. And yeah, I don't think you need an hour and a half or an hour and 40 minutes to do that much character development. I'm just saying.
I mean, there's plenty of stuff that's going on besides just the character development. Like there's stuff happening, and it's telling a story about like the history of this area and these two brothers. Which I think is good. Like it's got quite a bit going on throughout the movie. But yeah, it's I mean, it's not like a YouTube short. So, a lot of people are like, oh, no, not someone didn't lose their head in 10 minutes, so I'm out of it.
Well, I like Salem's Lot, the original one, over the reboot, so.
I know that you said you've been surrounded by a bunch of good movies and you made us watch Underground, so. So I'm just sitting here in the corner with a grin on my face.
Mm-hmm.
Come on now. You can't say that Hellraiser the reboot was bad.
I can't. Okay, this is it. Well, we'll get into it. But I will say that Presto told me that I had to fill in his place a little bit since he's not here today. So I have to give you shit intentionally. But just understand that it's because of Matt. It's not me at all.
Yeah, it's just because of Matt. I know how it is.
Hey, to be fair, he's given us some stinkers too, because Troll and Troll 2 hurt my happiness for a couple days.
They hurt your happiness.
Yeah.
And now you have to deal with it at work.
Constantly. constantly. Every time I'm like hanging out there working on something, I'll suddenly hear my coworker go like, Joshua. And he's like, sing that song I like, Joshua. And then I'll just hear, row, row, row. I'm just like, oh my god! Like, it's like, what did I do? I should not have introduced him to this. But yeah. Anyways,
All right. So
go see the movie.
that
Anyways, Jesus.
well, yeah.
It's good.
So anyway, as you know, I just wanted to throw out something else that Odessa worked in recently. In case anybody wants to see more of her. But one of them was Hellraiser, the reboot. So as you know, there was a lot of controversy about
Her lip
Hellraiser.
injections.
What was that?
Her lip injections.
What? Pinheads?
No. Odessa's. Go on.
Are you sure they're lip injections?
I don't know. Either that or she's got a bad habit of chapping her lips. Something looks funky.
Well, remember, she was also going for that kind of, attic look a little bit, I guess. Recovering attic look, maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Go with it, okay. So, but no, the biggest controversy about Hellraiser, the reboot, was, of course, Pinhead not being male.
Yeah.
Oh no.
You guys didn't hear about that controversy?
There's a controversy about everything. The sky is blue. No, it's not. So yeah.
I didn't know that people freaked out about it or that there's an active one, but I mean, I could see it because everyone's always, upset about anyone bringing like a new vision to the table. So
yeah. But there was controversy about them having a female replace Pinhead. Yeah. And then because Doug Bradley hasn't done it since when? He wasn't in.
He hasn't done it since like 2013 or so, because the 2017 was a different guy.
Yes. Well, there's been a couple of different guys.
You sure? I thought I only saw one different one.
No, there's been more than one.
Oh.
So, the Hellraiser franchise. There are 11.
Oh, sweet Jesus. Okay. Because I saw that you went through like 6 or 7.
Yeah, so there's been 9 sequels.
Okay.
So that makes, with the first movie, that's 10. And then there was the reboot, was the 11th.
Okay.
So how many have you seen?
Probably, including this new one, probably 4. I was talking to Poison Maniac in the chat about this, and I think it was right around 3. I kind of dropped off because the quality just started plummeting more and more, and I just didn't stick with it. But I still go back and visit the original every few years, and especially now. I think they just released a 4K version, so
let's see. All right. So Doug Bradley did the 8th one. So I think he did up to 8.
8. Okay. The naming convention on these movies gets super out of hand at a certain point too. So
Judgment and a whole bunch of other things. Yeah.
So the last 2, Revelations and Judgment, those 2 were not Doug Bradley in there, but they also weren't the same Pinhead, I don't think. Let me just double check. Paul T. Taylor did Pinhead in number in Judgment, and then in Revelations, I believe it was a totally different guy. Let me see here.
So
Stephen Smith Collins was Pinhead. So there have been a total of 4 different Pinheads,
okay.
including the female one, including Jamie Clayton.
I mean, you know, I guess if anything, because you mentioned the controversy of it being a woman in this one, and like I wasn't upset that it wasn't a guy now, but at the same time, it's what I was expecting. And so when it wound up that was actually Pinhead and the actual like the main Pinhead or whatever, I was like, oh, okay. So they decided to go a different direction. Like, I wasn't expecting it going in because I avoided trailers and stuff. I didn't want anything. Like I didn't even look at IMDb because I didn't want to lead my opinion one way or another since I hadn't seen the last like half dozen films that they apparently released. So, but I
Yeah.
take it by your guys' response that you weren't concerned either, really,
No,
about it being a girl. Like it's not a big deal, right?
No,
no,
no. I just thought it was funny.
Yeah.
the controversy. I know there are probably some purists out there. Oh no, it's got to be this type of character. It's like it works. I don't think having a female character as Pinhead does anything different enough to make it so it's like, oh, this isn't a good one, or this
Right.
isn't worthy of being in the series, especially considering some of the latter ones that they've made. I would say this was probably a decent change, but it didn't. They didn't have to make the change, but the change didn't affect the story, at least to me, negatively. So
Right. Yeah, I
So
think they're. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I think there are certain characters that you don't mess with because it's just not necessary. You could just be creative and make new characters. It's like if someone was like, "Hey, surprise! All of a sudden, Solid Snake in Metal Gear is a woman," or you were like, "Oh, John Rambo. Guess what? Now that's a girl, and it's Jamie Rambo." Like, it's there are certain things you don't need to mess with. You could just make a new character and maybe do something similar-esque, like in the same vein.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is fine. I mean, the Cenobites in general, they're all funky characters that generally have about the exact same wounds and flesh mutilating design. So
Well, I saw a lot of new Cenobites in this one compared to the older ones. Like Chatter's been in a couple. They had the twins.
It
And you,
felt like they all. I feel like they all kind of blend together. It's almost like Silent Hill's characters, with the exception of like Pyramid Head. A lot of them just look the same. Which there's nothing wrong with it if they have like different abilities or whatever.
I think I like from some of the movies, they show how some of the Cenobites are made. I kind of miss that with this one.
Yeah, this one didn't really do that. I mean, it gave us something at the end to kind of show a process. I won't say more than that, but yeah, it didn't touch on that necessarily. It does detail obviously that like they come from a different place and kind of like highlights the reason for what they are and how they approach things. But
yeah. I mean, there. I'm not gonna say there wasn't one made, but it wasn't a Cenobite that was made. And everything. But I mean, the book that she found did kind of give a little bit more lore that was more definitive than what's been in the past. Because again, you have people that just get punished that, and then some that open the box get to become Cenobites. So there's no rhyme or reason kind of for that in the previous movies, but in this one it kind of showed how that sometimes happens. And why they choose certain victims to actually become Cenobites compared to, or something like Cenobites compared to others. So, I mean, that was the great thing about this particular part of the series. It is a reboot, though. They are trying to go in kind of a totally different direction than before. Because everybody before, after the first one, knew what the box was.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, pretty much they figured out what it was. Christy was in, I want to say the fifth one. Let me see here. So, like I said, there are a total of 11. We know the first one is kind of introducing. The second one, Christy, it's a direct sequel to the first one. The third one is where we kind of see offshoots of the box being kind of found by other people. Because that's the one with the reporter in it. Which had some interesting deaths in that one too. And creation of some Cenobites that were interesting. Like the video camera guy. Bloodline. Which one was it? Was it Bloodline or... Which was the one that was in space?
Not sure.
Info or Bloodline, probably.
Yeah, it was Bloodline. It was the fourth one where it was in space, and yeah, that one kind of broke some people. It's like, I'm not watching this anymore. Inferno. That one kind of was a little confusing. That one had Craig Schiffer in it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Did you see that one?
I think I might have, actually, because I remember seeing one that had James Remar and Sheffer, so I must have seen this one.
Yeah, this is about the shady police officer that was trying to find the madman known as the engineer.
Yeah. Looking at the pictures of this, I'm pretty sure I saw this one at one point.
Yeah. So Hellseeker, that was the one that they came back and had Christy come back.
Dude, there's so many that IMDb cuts off the search.
Yeah. Dead and Deader I liked, but it was kind of far out. Where this journalist was trying to find this cult or whatever. That one I think broke a lot of other people as well that were watching the series. Hellworld was the video game people. They got to go to this special party.
Mm-hmm.
That was the one with the Lance Henriksen in it. And then Revelations was the two college students that went to Mexico and got up into all this twisted stuff. And then Judgment was the weirdest one of them all. I don't even know how to describe that one. It was really out there. And then we have the reboot. And I think the reboot is sending us back to the classic nature of Hellraiser.
Feels like it. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like it feels like if this is kind of where they're wanting to start again and run back through, it feels like a pretty good way to kind of start things back off. They, like I said, they did start to talk about some of the history and like why this happens the way it does and where they came from. and they could easily dive more into that with something after this. I'd be curious though, because this thing came out, what, it was 2022, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it came out during COVID. I'd be curious, do we know how it performed?
Well,
Like,
I
because that was
believe
COVID time.
So I believe on Hulu,
Oh boy.
it went straight to Hulu.
Mhm.
So it
And
did hit theaters. It netted $10,000.
Yeah.
But it was probably very select theaters, I would imagine.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it was only in there for 3 days.
Mm.
That's not bad for 3 days of probably 1 or 2 screenings, you know.
Yeah, it was only 1 week. It's only 1 week. It was only in the United Kingdom, by the way.
Okay.
It was not released. It was not released in the United States. It was released only on Hulu, and it's been on Hulu.
Mm.
It's still on Hulu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. So
Interesting.
yeah, they only I don't know why they decided Hulu. But it's I don't know the one thing I'm not sure about when it comes to streaming is they say, millions of people at this time watched it and all this other stuff. But how reliable is that? I mean, that's kind of like the bigger question.
I mean, unless you're running through like a private browser, but then it's looking at the login. So
Yeah.
I would say they definitely have reasonable metrics when it comes to the streaming. It's just a matter of did they watch it the entire from start to finish, or did they watch it and they're like, oh, this isn't for me, and then turn it off, and does it still count as a watch or whatnot
Yeah.
type of thing?
Well, it probably counts as a watch for them, but I'd imagine it's probably just like the metrics for YouTube, right? Where
Yeah.
like you see, oh hey, we had this many people that tuned in, and then it shows you the metrics of like this is the actual like the average time that someone actually watched this and stuff. They would never release that probably because the numbers are probably not favorable, because let's be honest, a lot of people just start something and then are like, nah, I'm not really feeling that right now, and so they don't go back to it immediately. So the numbers probably don't tell a great narrative. But yeah, I'm sure they have that. They just probably wouldn't want to go into more detail when reporting about it.
Yeah. So before we get into the other thing, I just want to answer this one. Like, wasn't Pinhead originally in the books like a feminine body, but a deep is actually the opposite. So in the books, Pinhead is androgynous. We're not sure female or male, but had a female voice. Really, is actually it was described as having a more feminine voice, but having an androgynous look. So going either way. But I don't think in the books they really wanted to define gender to Pinhead per se. I think that was a movie thing. So
I mean, for the Cenobites, it's not like it even really matters, right?
yeah.
Like
No, I don't think so.
You've seen most of what their body's gone through, and anything that would have, designated them one way or another is generally stripped away given whatever happens to them. The only thing you end up usually noticing is maybe a more feminine physique. But as far as like boobs or anything like that, all that stuff seems to get gutted away when these transformations happen. So it doesn't really matter that much, right? Like,
yeah. I just think Clive Barker really didn't care so much about the gender
Mm-mm.
when it came to his characters in that book. I think he wanted to more focus on what was happening and
Yeah.
why they might have been doing it and the lore and stuff. That's normally what he focuses on. I just think when it came out in 1987, when they were filming it, I think they had to pick somebody, and Bradley was just the best person that could do it.
Mhm.
You know, they
Probably.
liked him in the role. So
Yeah, I mean, they liked him enough that they held on to him for years, decades.
yes,
So
yes,
worked out.
yes. Because I mean, he was last seen in the role in 2005.
Say 2005? I thought he went into the teens.
No,
Damn. Okay.
Revelations was 6 years after Hellraiser Hellworld in 2011.
Hmm.
And then 7 years later, they did Hellraiser Judgment.
Gotcha.
Now, there was supposed to be another film that was supposed to be a direct sequel to Hellraiser Judgment by the same director.
Hmm.
And he was very, very sad.
when
Very, very
it when
sad
it got gutted.
when they said, yeah, we're going in a different direction.
Fair. I mean, given what you were saying, it sounds like that was probably the best option that they could have made.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So I mean, out of all of the directors, most of them were one time, except for Rick Boda. He did Hellraiser Seeker, Hellraiser Deader, and Hellraiser Hellworld. He did 3 of the 11.
They don't hold on to him very long.
No.
No. And out of all of the movies, most of those were really weird. So, I don't know. I mean, I like the whole series. So, but let's talk about some things like awards for this. Okay? So, the reboot. They got Fangoria Chainsaw Awards. So, they were nominated for best makeup, best streaming premiere film, best supporting performance, Jamie Clayton. For the Golden was it Skype? I don't know. Horror Awards. They won for best costume design. They got nominated for best production design, best director, best adapted screenplay, best remake or sequel, best sound design, and then the Queerties. They were nominated for Queerty film performance for Jamie Clayton. Now, I don't know, the sound in this, the opening music for this, I thought was awesome. What did you guys think?
It was pretty good. I mean, overall, the sound quality and some of the tones and everything kind of set the mood. So it was fitting. I wouldn't go as far as to say it was awesome, but it matched what they were trying to convey as far as the scene and stuff like that. So great pairing or great timing in that regard.
Yeah, it seemed pretty well put together. I think they did a good job with what they had, and it didn't feel at all like it was on a shoestring budget. It
Yeah.
felt like they did a pretty good job at making it feel like it was pretty reasonably funded. I didn't look at the budget or anything, but I would imagine it probably wasn't a huge budget, and it kind of seems like they punched above their weight class a little bit, which is
Mhm.
always fun to see. I never expected that for something like Underground when we watched that movie. I
Yeah.
was like, this movie sucks, but it looks good. And there's a lot of
Mhm.
things about it that they
Uh-huh.
did good. Um, it's
Mhm.
interesting to see. It's interesting to see that sometimes when you've got someone who has those chops that gets involved in a project like this and
Mhm.
really makes it look like it was on a bigger budget. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So I just like the fact that they're in this. It's they're in a different country, of course. They're in Serbia, and they have this industrial sound in this heavily. There's just this density of houses,
Mhm.
and it just seems so dark and so gloomy and so depressed of an area. And then this sound comes out, and I just thought it was so great. Um, and then it opens into, of course, the party scene where you see this kid that is obviously so out of place, so very underdressed, feeling so awkward about being invited to this party. You're not even sure how he got there, kind of situation. Um, so what did you guys think of the opening death?
Um, I it was it was okay.
Yeah, it was a little
Um,
underwhelming, wasn't it?
I was expecting more.
Yeah.
Given
Mhm,
again, I haven't watched all the films, so bear with me. But like,
mhm,
I go back to when I watched number one on a regular, and that first death, like that
mhm.
sets a very specific tone. I don't feel like this
Yes.
did. Um, I actually, for a lot of the movie, I kept kind of thinking like, they really haven't done very much as far as gore goes.
Mhm.
No.
And it wasn't really until towards the end that that really like
Mhm.
kind of gets just unleashed. But
Yes.
but yeah, no, it was a little underplayed initially. Kind of made me nervous because I wasn't sure where we were going if that was going to be kind of what happened in most of them and if they had toned down some of the kills or what was going to be going on.
Yeah, because when depending on depending on the particular movie, sometimes they come out swinging,
Hmm.
and then in other times it's like they come out swinging, but then it goes downhill. Whereas in some of them, it's just throughout the whole entire movie. It's like you're gonna see Judgment. It was so gory, so disgusting, so many different visuals
Right.
that you know it was one of the most unhinged kind of in that gore direction. It wasn't always blood either. So that's why I
So I,
said, that one is the weirdest one of them all.
so
But
I would say that this one actually reminds me of Sinners
uh-huh.
in the fact that
I
it
wouldn't go
starts
that
off
far.
kind of mild,
Mhm.
but shit hits off towards the end.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I wouldn't go
Lizzie, what do
that
you
far
think?
now.
I would. You haven't seen it.
No, I think for the first death, I was expecting more of like chains and hooks ripping flesh kind of stuff, but you
Mhm.
know, it was a very mild start. Like I would say possibly even PG-13 level or lower kind of
Yeah,
deal.
Say that
Um,
now.
well, I mean,
I
you
would
didn't
say
really
that for
see
sure.
the like other than him, I guess, cutting his hand or whatever. That was probably the more gory aspect, but the rest, like, oh, he gets dragged, and I think the thing stabbed him in the leg or ripped him part of his
Yeah,
leg or whatever.
Yeah.
But that
and you
was
just hear
Yeah,
a
it
lot of
took them.
screaming.
yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was
There was a
expecting
lot of
them to be like skinned alive kind of thing, or strung up along the ceiling, you know, a lot more stuff at that point. But it ramps up towards the later, encounters with the Cenobites and stuff like that. But yeah, the first one fairly mild, nothing to jolt you out of your seat kind of deal. You kind of know that he was he was getting his up and comings at that point. Like, oh, look at this puzzle. Hey, is it okay if I touch it? Yeah, yeah, sure, go ahead. And yeah, we all know how that ends for whoever plays with the puzzle. So yeah,
Mhm.
Well, in that one, we do see him get strung up in the background, but we don't actually
yeah,
see what
Yeah,
happens to him. We just know it happens.
yeah.
Um,
It's just insinuating, like, okay, yeah, we know what's coming. It's not the
mhm,
same as like when they were peeling the dude's face away in the first movie,
yeah,
and shit's just like getting torn off of him. That
mhm.
was again, like I probably saw that one way too young.
Yeah,
And
I think we all did.
that was one heck of a way to set a tone for the next like handful of movies I watched, because I was
So,
like,
mhm.
is this a normal thing? Like what?
how
Yeah,
old? How old were you when you saw Hellraiser? Because it came
probably
out
about
in
5.
1987.
Well, so I
What was
was
it?
probably about 5 because it came out the year I was born.
Mm,
But I was about 5 when I saw that because my brother. I don't think I told you about my brother, but my brother tied me to a chair and made me watch horror movies when I was like 4 and 5.
Did you really
Um,
even understand anything that was going on?
I just knew a lot of fucked up shit was happening, and I saw a lot of things that I should not have seen at that age. Like there were a lot of incidents with my brother. We
mm,
get along pretty well nowadays. We even play games together pretty regularly.
cool.
Mhm.
But there was a lot of messed up stuff that happened. The sibling abuse
Mm,
was
Mhm.
on a different level because my brother, I don't know, he had a very unique sense of humor. We'll call it humor. That's what we'll call it.
We'll call it
okay.
humor.
But no, I by the time I was about 5 or 6, I had already seen um, most of the Halloweens that were out at that time, the
Mhm.
Friday the 13th, the Chuckies, whatever. Like he made me watch a whole bunch of stuff. It made for a very interesting childhood. I
Mm.
literally had one time I was walking down the street back to my house in the winter and I saw the curtains in the front of the house moving, and I had just been gifted one of those Cabbage Patch Kids that looked like the My Buddy from Chucky. And so I was
Uh-huh.
convinced that the motherfucker was alive. And so I did like everything I could to destroy that doll. Like I ran its head through the freaking in station bike and stuff. Like
Uh-huh.
I did whatever I could to freaking destroy that thing, and it kept showing back up because my parents kept finding it. Even when I threw it in the garbage, they brought it back into the house.
So
So
you were
yeah,
really thinking it was alive at that
dude,
point.
it was not a pleasant childhood. There was a lot there was a lot of shit. I don't know.
Mm.
Oh.
Anyways, let's get away from my damaged youth. Let's keep going.
So when this came out, and everything, I was pretty much a teenager by then, and
Yeah.
of
Okay.
course, nobody's gonna take me to the movie theater to see this. Um, so I waited until it was like on HBO or whatever, and yeah, that was pretty much my childhood. So I did it to myself. I mean, at least you can blame somebody. I can't.
I can blame a couple of them because my sister also brought me to movies far before I should have been going to them.
Mm.
Because
Uh-huh.
she brought me to, what was it, Doctor Giggles. She brought me to
Oh,
Dr.
okay.
Giggles in theater, and that was 92, so I was like 5.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so that was not. Yeah, anyways. Fuzzy, when did you start watching horror movies?
Well, see, my definition of a horror movie, my earliest remembrance, it's not a horror movie, but it scared the living bejesus out of me, and I had like nightmares for years. Was The Day After, when I was like 5 or 6, because seeing people, a flash of light, and then you see their shadow of their skeleton on the wall, that kind of got me. But as far as like real horror films, I would say I was probably 10 or 12. Like, I want to say maybe even before then, because I'm pretty sure I got to see like the first, Friday the 13th and things like that. Um, and Nightmare on Elm Street. And some of them I do remember seeing in the theater. Other ones were it was definitely like cable, because no one really bought those VHSs. But then again, Blockbuster existed, so we probably rented some of those at that time. So it was either cable or Blockbuster was pretty much the bigger intro. I think as far as horror movies that I saw in the theater, I know one of the Friday the 13th was definitely one of the ones that I saw in theater. But after that, or other than that, my 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 earlier years when I was like between 5 and 10 kind of thing, no real exposure to horror movies, but definitely a lot of rated R movies with a lot of cursing and stuff. But you learn real quick. I forget what the name of the soap was that I had my mouth washed out once. But yeah, I didn't curse back then, or at least not around my parents anyway. So, but horror
Sounds like
movies weren't as early on per se, but
sounds like a nice childhood.
I think you've watched more horror movies with me than you did prior to me.
probably, yeah. Sci-fi, cop movies, war movies, um, comedy, kind of like anything Eddie Murphy back in the day, kind of thing. Those were seen in the theaters. I wouldn't even count Goonies as a horror movie. That I definitely remember seeing that when it came to the theaters. But yeah, I definitely seen more horror movies after meeting my wife than prior to that. It was more about action films and sci-fi, like Star Wars, Star Trek, all of that stuff. But
See, my parents didn't know that my siblings were doing this, because like my parents let me see The Shining, but their version of letting me see The Shining was seeing the TV miniseries version and seeing the movie on cable. So like that was a whole different thing, because you get a lot of that movie cut out.
yeah,
A lot of sections cut out. So when I went to that one and revisited it like in my teens, I was like, I don't even remember this movie. This isn't the same movie. Like, yeah, my parents were religious and tried to raise us religious, and I was the last kid. So by the time I came around, they kind of stopped caring. But I still also didn't get access to all the good stuff until I was a smidge older, unless it was forced on me by my siblings.
yeah, yeah. I was the youngest as well, so it was one of those things. Like my brother and sister were 19 and 24 years older than me by the time I
Mm,
came around. So it's like I do remember seeing The Shining. I do remember Bates Motel, but like I guess it would have been the more recent one. But then again, I do remember the one in black and white as well.
mm,
But yeah, horror movies wasn't like everybody in the family wasn't really into the horror movies. It was more like comedies, action, sci-fi, stuff like that. Like I think my
sure.
mom was probably the one more so into horror movies, but I don't think she wanted to have to deal with me having nightmares kind of deal. So some of them I saw, but I think she kind of gave me a very limited curated list kind of thing. So like I said, I do remember The Shining. I do remember watching Bates, and I think that was one of the VHSs we had. But yeah, nowhere near as many movies as I've seen since Meet and Fee and stuff like that. So
I am his torturer.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. I try and do the same thing to my wife because it's fun.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, the substance.
yeah. She had a time with that movie. That was fun. She actually okay. So I almost got her to sit and watch Hellraiser, this one with us. I almost got her to watch this one with me because she came into the room and she's like, "What are you watching?" I was like, "Oh, it's Hellraiser," and she's like, "Oh, is that superhero TV show?" And I was like, "No, but you could say that the person that's in it does have like supernatural abilities."
Mhm.
And she's like, "Oh, interesting. What's it on?" I was like, "Oh, Hulu." And she's like, "Oh, huh." And she's like, "Can I see a trailer?" And about 5 seconds into the trailer, she's like, "No, I'm good." And I was like, "No, but you got to watch the trailer if you're not going to watch the movie." She watched the whole trailer and she's like, "Yeah, no, I'm not going to watch that movie with you." So I tried.
Yeah.
You know, there are certain films I can get away with, like she'll watch some of these movies because they're
Mhm.
not gory, like super gory, but when it gets super super gory, she doesn't get into it. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't know about Until Dawn. She might watch it, but it does have a good amount of gore in it.
I I think I could probably get her on board with that one just because it's a little more modern.
Mhm.
Some of the older stuff she gets weird about, or if it's like super gory. But if it's like a more modern thing, odds are most of the people that are in the film she's seen in uh, her streaming soaps that she
Mhm.
watches. So she'll probably be like, "Oh, I know this person from dot dot dot," and she'll
Mhm,
be like, "I want to see that person because I know that person from other things."
mhm.
So I
Oh,
might be able to. I'll report back.
okay, okay. Yeah, because some of the modern stuff is actually gorier than the original. Like
Oh
Evil
hell yeah,
Dead 1. Yeah, Evil Dead 1, I think was actually less gory than the reboot.
dude,
Yeah.
that reboot was intense even for me when I saw that in theaters. That
Mhm.
Yeah.
shit was high tension. Goodness.
And the next one that came out, that was even gorier.
Yeah, and sadly, it was named Evil Dead. It shouldn't have been named Evil Dead.
Mhm.
Literally, the only
Yeah.
thing that held it to Evil Dead was the fact that the book was in it.
Yeah.
That pissed me off. Like I felt like that was literally just someone being like, "Hey, we have a script we need to run
Mhm.
with," and they're like, "Hey,
Yeah.
we've got the Evil Dead franchise that we can wrap this on and make it seem like it's this, and people know it, so they'll come see it." Like
Yeah, but
that.
Sam Raimi was behind it,
It's
and
fine, but it had nothing to do with Evil Dead except the book.
Yeah.
yeah,
Like, it was
It was
just
like
a
the
missed
spin-off.
opportunity. Yeah,
it
yeah.
it
Like
was supposed to be a spinoff.
you
It
could
definitely
have.
was. It's supposed to be another. There's three books, and um, they had one throughout the first three, but there's
Mhm.
two more, and the one kid found the second book. There's still a third book out there, and the whole kind of thing is that they're all in the same universe, but they're just finding the second book now, and it's a
It
totally
just
different group of people.
it just feels like the Halloween ends of the Evil Dead franchise. Like
Yeah,
there's
but they
barely
wanted.
anything tying it to that universe whatsoever. Like all you gotta do is just have a cameo, and they're like, "Okay, it's done. It's Evil
Yeah.
Dead now."
Yeah, it's just because you can't do Ash anymore. Like they want to
You
keep the
could do
series
Ash.
going.
Or you
He,
could do somebody different with like a shotgun and a chainsaw. Like at least
yeah,
have that.
yeah, but
I
that's
could.
that's what they were trying to do in getting her. I'm hoping that when they do another one, she's in it, so that we now have a new person that is, because that's not what happened in the reboot. You know, they went and did the reboot to make it similar to what they started with, and now they're off in another direction when they could have just
Yeah.
done this one and not even done the reboot.
Yeah.
I don't know. I get bent out of shape about the naming conventions, I guess, but
Yeah.
it's like, just say from the creator of Evil Dead comes,
Yeah.
in the same vein as Evil Dead or whatever, like
Mhm.
do whatever, but I don't know, like keep it more grounded in the Evil Dead universe.
Yeah.
Besides just tagging the book onto it and being like, "Oh, look, the book's involved, okay," and nothing else. Like,
Yeah.
besides that, the movie was good. I
Well,
would say the same
and
thing for Halloween Ends. Like, if you
yeah.
didn't have Halloween listed on the name of that movie,
Mhm.
it was
Yeah.
okay. Like, it stood by
Mhm.
itself okay,
Yeah.
but you knew you were going to sell more tickets if it said Evil Dead or Halloween.
Mhm. True. True, but I think they are just trying to, as Bruce Campbell said, just keep the Evil Dead universe alive because like he can't do Ash anymore. Like his
Bullshit.
got
He can do it. I don't care if he's in pajamas. Like, saddle up, throw the chainsaw on, pretend like they did what, 2 seasons of Ash versus Evil Dead when he's
No, it was
unshaven,
more
unable
than
to do
2.
anything. Was it
No,
it
it
was
was more than
three at
2.
max.
I think it's 3.
Yeah, so like
Um,
they did that. Just do that. Let him wear pajamas on set.
Yeah.
well,
Like,
they have said, I don't know where it is in production or whatever, but they have said um that they're doing a cartoon version where he will be
oh
Ash. That's the
no.
only way he said that he can keep Ash alive is by doing the voiceover for the cartoon.
Nah, nonsense. Nonsense. They need to do the third of the new Evil Dead movies where it ends with them showing up at the cabin
Mhm.
where it all started, and he's sitting on the
Yeah.
freaking porch and he
Mhm.
blasts them with his cobalt blue steel at smart shotgun. And it just, that's what it needs to be. Even if he's in pajamas. I don't care. Like, he
Even if
doesn't
he's
need to
in
lose
pajamas.
weight. Doesn't need to
You know
lose
what?
weight.
You know
He
what?
can have his pot belly. It's fine.
Send that suggestion to him. Send that suggestion to him at one of his sites.
I'm sure
You
that'll be
know,
received as well as a fart in an elevator.
but yeah, there were 3 seasons of Ash versus Evil Dead.
Yeah,
I
it was
think they
good.
could have gone with a 4th one or even a spin-off series. In all honesty, they could have done a spin-off series because Ray Santiago and Dana Del Lorenzo,
Mhm.
they had a good following at the time.
Yeah,
They had a really good following, and they could have actually kept the show alive for at least another 2 seasons, and I don't know why they didn't try.
if I remember correctly, I want to say that they were getting pressure on it and were being told like that they weren't going to be back for another season.
Well, it was also right around the pandemic and stuff because it was 2018 when the last season was, but, I mean,
Right. Yeah.
honestly, they could have gone another season or 2. And then
Yeah.
the ending to the series, it would have made more sense because we could have had more lead up from what happened after that and seen why, he was in that state at the very end.
Yeah.
I just think it would have been better to, because that was just a huge leap at the end. It wasn't very satisfying, to be honest with you.
Other than the wood chipper, right? Or no, you're talking
Uh-huh.
about the season. Never mind.
No, I'm talking about the season. I'm not talking about Evil Dead Rise. At least they said Evil Dead Rise and it wasn't just Evil Dead like they did with the
Yeah.
reboot. Evil Dead for the reboot.
Yeah,
Same
but
title.
still.
And
Yeah.
they shoved 2 movies together for the reboot.
True.
Because in the very first one, he doesn't cut off his arm. He does that in the second one. But in the reboot, the girl cuts off her arm.
They did so good with that first new Evil Dead remake. Like they did a really good job with that one, and I was really hopeful it was going to be in that same vein, and it just
Nope.
went away from everything. And
Yeah.
it was just sad. Again, like it holds up by itself. But I expected Evil Dead, and when I got there, I was like, this ain't it. This was not what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Anyways, sorry. That's me being an old man. Just like Bruce Campbell saying he can't be Ash anymore.
All right, so
don't be a quitter.
All right, let's get back to Hellraiser reboot. Okay, so Hellraiser reboot. We already talked about Jamie Clayton doing it rather than another male. First time ever they were going with an androgynous look with a female voice. But did you notice that Jamie Clayton didn't have as much on-screen time as one of the other Cenobites?
It's one of the other ones. Are you talking about the chatter?
Not Chatter.
The one with like the dome, or not really a dome, but like the bars going from her head to her shoulders kind of thing.
I think it was the Gasp.
Okay.
I think that was her name, and she was played by Selena Lowe. She had more screen time and more lines than Jamie Clayton did, it seemed like.
Is there a beef there? There's got to be beef.
I don't know. I just kind of thought it was weird that, you know, she was there for a lot of the scenes and directly talking with Odessa's character, which was Riley.
Yeah.
And then I mean Clayton was too. And they didn't even list Jamie Clayton as Pinhead. They listed her as the priest. But she was Pinhead, and I don't even understand that.
Interesting. Yeah, I saw even in some of the areas they were reluctant to even call her Pinhead. Elsewhere too, they just called her lead Cenobite, which I thought I was like, you're not even accepting and saying like, yeah, no, this is our new Pinhead. I thought that was kind of weird.
Yeah.
It's like they were almost afraid of a copyright, but they had the licensing. It was like, oh, we'll do the wish listing.
And the wish listing. Exactly.
I think it was something in I guess it was maybe in reference to not upsetting the fans per se, because Doug Rowley didn't care.
Yeah,
he really didn't care. I mean, we met him, and he had already been done with the franchise after the 8th one. He's like, "Nah, I don't like how you're going in this direction or whatever." And he's like, "I'm not going to be in." And they weren't even going to pay him, according to I guess his contract or whatever. He's already come out and said that they weren't even going to try and pay him any money for doing the 9th and the 10th one. So he's like, "Yeah, I'm out."
He's like, "Oh, you're not going to pay me, and I'm going to sit in that chair and do makeup for how many hours? You can shove that offer sideways."
And he's like, the script sucks. So yeah, no.
Yeah, that was probably the best move he made. Is like he saw the writing on the wall and was like, "It's time to get away from this." But I feel like
here you go.
Oh, what's it? Okay. So Crispy Rambo says it was never supposed to be the name Pinhead. Even the male was the Hell Priest and not Pinhead. That name was given by the makeup artist for the in the crew. Interesting. Well, yeah, no, hmm, I don't feel like I've ever seen it listed as Hell Priest, except for what you were mentioning just now a
Yeah.
moment ago and what Crispy mentioned.
Yeah. Let me see.
It felt like they underutilized Clayton as Pinhead in this movie, just in general. Because like whenever she was on screen, I guess at least for me, I just always associate it back to when I saw, Bradley as Pinhead, and I'm like, oh shit is about
Yeah.
to pop off right now. It is going to get nuts. And she did a really good job at just looking very ominous, very intimidating. They just didn't utilize her very much in the movie,
Yeah,
which was
they
sad.
didn't. So, I went back and I looked at Hellraiser and IMDb. The first one just says lead Cenobite for Hellraiser, but then after that, every other time it's Pinhead. So yeah, there we go. Mystery solved.
Interesting. Good to know.
And Clive Barker has said, here's another one.
From Crispy Rambo, he mentions Clive Barker has stated that he hates the name Pinhead, even though it's stuck. I mean, if you have a character that's got a bunch of pins in their head, like what? Do you want him to be called Needlehead? Like
Spike.
It's yeah, like
Spike.
fans are going to go with whatever they want, whatever they prefer. If you don't specify it, right? Especially if you call it Hell Priest.
Well, yeah, but here's the funny thing: is that did you notice that there were pins in all of the male Pinheads, but Jamie Clayton's character, which we all know is Pinhead, got pearls at the end of her pins. Listen to that.
Pearl necklace.
I don't think it's the same thing.
It's close. It's like a relative. It's fine.
Yeah. All right. We have an expert here, Fuzzy. What would you call it?
What, as far as the pearl necklace? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I mean, pincushion,
Fuzzy,
pearl necklace.
Resident expert.
No, the pearls make it more stylish, it more fitting. Although less intimidating because you might not get hurt if you get a headbutt from them. So I don't know. Pearl necklace it is.
Would you? I guess you could call it pearl head job. But it does stand out more than I think the older design. Just because like it really, when it's on camera, it pops. You get a real money shot of the visuals, or I got nothing. I'm just gonna go back to my corner now.
So many terms. That was awesome. That
I was trying to fit rim job in there too, but I couldn't figure out how.
No, but I think the way they set up the pins for it definitely works. I don't know. We'll see what if they wind up having like a sequel to this reboot type of deal, which I don't know. Did they even make mention that a sequel has been greenlit, or are they kind of waiting for a green light type of thing? Or,
let me see.
Or is it going to be like a Hulu special?
I know there was supposed to be one for Judgment, but it hasn't been officially confirmed yet
for this one.
And then they were talking about Clayton's character, it would revolve around her.
Mm.
And of course, introduce new characters and stuff like that. So I guess maybe a prequel. Because I mean, we kind of really didn't. When did we see? Wasn't it in the third one where we saw what happened? Like how Pinhead was actually created? Wasn't it in the third one? Because I know it wasn't in the first
so.
one or the second one.
No, I think it was 3. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. With the
3 or 4,
journalist.
but it was one of the ones I saw because I remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they could do that. They could definitely do like a prequel thing and go back and explain some more of that. Because I mean, they did touch on it in here, but it's one of those things where it's like, especially with today's technology and the visual effects and stuff that you could do, like a hell world scenario where you see all these different type of Cenobites and stuff, that could be some absolute nightmare fuel if done properly and given the proper budget. That could be pretty sweet.
Yeah, but some of these Cenobite names. So the original ones. Yeah, the original ones. So there were only 4.
Yeah.
Doug Bradley's was listed as lead Cenobite, but the 2, and then the female one was just called female Cenobite. But Chattering Cenobite was one of them, and then Simon Banford's, which he's a really awesome guy. His was Butterball Cenobite.
Butterball.
I don't.
Yeah, they called him
remember
Butterball.
Butterball one.
He was a really fat one. You don't remember the fat one?
Not really. I
You
remember
didn't
a
watch
couple
the
of tall
first one.
ones and Chatter and I guess Gasp and Weeper.
Yeah,
I don't know which one was the fast one though.
The fat one was so all of the original ones came back for the second one. They didn't have any new ones in that one. So female Cenobite, of course, that's when Doug Bradley's character was named Pinhead, and then Butterball came back, and Chatter. That's when they just listed him as Chatterer.
Yeah.
Let me see.
It's
for the
interesting
third
that
one.
Oliver Smith came back as Browning in the second one, and in the first one he was Frank the Monster.
Yes.
Yes. But interestingly, looking on IMDb, it looks like they actually, at one point, they also listed Bradley as leading Cenobite. So now I've seen Clayton and Bradley listed as lead Cenobite.
Yeah.
They just can't come up with what name they want to stick with.
Exactly. And we all know that Pinhead's original name was Elliot.
Yeah, Pinhead's a better name.
Yeah.
All I can think is Elliot.
And they don't list any of the other Cenobites in the third one. I think because they were all new creations. Like Doc the Camerahead. Well, they called him Camerahead. Remember the videographer for her, the camera guy for her. She his nickname was Doc, but then he became Camerahead. But I'm not seeing any other listings for names for the other ones. So I guess they were just the victims or whatever. So yeah, that was a weird one too. Where was she from? So Terry Farrell or Farrell.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she was Dax. She was Jadzia Dax from Deep Space Nine. She was also in Becker as his love interest or whatever. Yeah, but
Okay,
yeah. So right Yeah, right before she did Deep Space Nine, she was in Hellraiser. That's a big leap.
Little bit. Yeah, I remember my dad watching the Deep Space Nine stuff. So I think that's where I saw her also, because the name was familiar.
Yeah. That is like a huge leap from going from a low budget cult classic series of horror to being on a beloved Star Trek series.
Does not happen
kind
to
of
most people.
Yeah.
No, it does not. She must have had an awesome audition there.
Yeah, she got lucky. Well, not just lucky, obviously it was talent, but she got lucky that the opportunity landed at the time it did.
Yeah, I think there's kind of a lot of luck when it comes to doing films and being in the right place at the right time. So again, I'm not seeing a lot of names for okay, so they got creative in the casting for the character names for Bloodline, but a lot of them were uncredited. So demonic aerobatic clown, hologram priest, gambler Cenobite, clown Cenobite number 1, gambler Cenobite, surgeon the jester, skinless Parker, and then the twins. But they just call them Twin 1 and Twin 2. Huh?
Interesting. Skinless Parker. Interesting.
Yeah, Skinless Parker was uncredited. Yeah, that's interesting. So Parker, Ren T. Brown is his real name. Yeah, I'm not sure what he actually played. I just know he was a character. I guess he was a friend of somebody. But they just called the twins, you know how the twins twist into each other. They're the security guards. So they had 2 sets of twins in here. They had Michael Polish and Mark Polish, and then the 2 security guards that intertwined that were brothers. Jimmy, I can't even pronounce their last name. Jimmy and David, and starts with an S. But yeah, so they had 2 sets of twins in that movie. So yeah, some of these names for the Cenobites are really weird.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch because I'm realizing that I'm pretty sure I've got everything through I think the early 2000s. So I got to be pretty close. I haven't watched all of them yet.
Well, when you get to number 10, just
first off, congratulations for surviving.
All 11?
Yeah, seriously. Oof.
Yeah, Pinhead shows up at your doorstep.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. For everybody that's in the audience, okay, who has watched all 11? Has anybody watched all 11?
I'm guessing Crispy Rambo watched all 11. Just given the conversation earlier in the chat. Yeah, okay. I'm guessing that's probably one of the only ones in the chat that has watched all of it. Yep. Sure enough.
Nice.
So,
do you think this is a good idea, me watching all these, Crispy? Is this a good decision? We'll see. Okay, you asked your question. He'll get back to me.
Okay, so I'm going to ask this to Crispy. Out of all of them, was Judgment the weirdest? So let's see if he responds. We'll continue on and see if he responds.
Yeah.
But so let's get back to Hellraiser reboot.
Okay. Yep.
So we get past the first death. we get past the second one, which is the
Yeah.
brother, of course,
Yeah.
and we don't see that. He's totally off camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We hear him, or she hears him, kind of thing,
Yes.
screaming.
Yes. Okay. Now, do you think it was luck, or do you think it was just her quick kind of reflexes that she wasn't the one that was cut?
Luck.
Yeah.
Luck.
Yeah. It wasn't reflexes. She was high on all sorts of things at the time. That was not reflexes. It wasn't. Definitely not reflexes.
Yeah.
All right, Crispy responded. Judgment and number 3 were weird.
Okay.
Yeah, I would
Okay.
say number 3 was weird too. I'd say it was weird. And then what's the setup?
That she didn't get
Setting
cut.
Oh, they was set up. Okay. That's an interesting thought. This was
Yeah.
all planned for her to be the final girl.
Yeah, the puzzle had chosen her to be the one to bring the victims.
Uh-huh. Well, yeah, and that was a little fuzzy too. So we get to the point where, we see that she's the one who opened the box, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
And then we go further along and they get to the house, right? Because they're trying to find Matt, the brother. They're like, this is a mystery. We got to solve it. And she's like thinking, I'll get my brother back.
Mhm.
She finds other people that have gone and died. Went missing or whatever. She doesn't know if they died yet, but gone missing. There were 4 others. So, and then she mentions a gardener and a few other people, right?
Yeah.
So now we're at the house and everything. And this is where it kind of gets a little shady for me. Is that the Cenobites move her hand. They literally manipulate her to basically cut herself. But she's already the one that's in control of the box, right?
Mhm.
So they cut her and then they're like, well, if it's not you, it's got to be another. So she chooses a Cenobite basically. Shouldn't have it been done by then? Like, shouldn't she have been off the hook at that point? Because she did choose another, didn't she?
Yeah, but it wasn't in its final form.
Yeah. But remember, still, we're going towards the end where they say it again to her, like, as if she didn't make payment by the Cenobite. So, I mean, did she really get credit for that Cenobite?
I mean, I guess apparently apparently that's what they went with, but I don't know. I thought it was surprising that they would even accept the idea of one of the Cenobites being eligible as one of them.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I was like, how does that count?
I mean, it's cool, and it's one of those like, I found a loophole type of things. But I was like, really? Like that's all you gotta do? Because it almost felt like it made it too easy in that scenario. That you
Yeah.
just have to get close to one of them and hit them with it. But I don't know.
So now we're at this point where she's got this thing almost solved, right?
Mhm.
It's on the last part where Joey, the original character, had solved it for okay, what's his name that he's going by in the movie? Voight. Okay. So Voight has Joey at the point where, he's on this kind of pyramid on both sides type situation, about to go to the pointed I don't even know what that shape is, but it's pointed on both ends, right?
Like an elongated diamond kind of thing.
Yeah, elongated
Yeah.
diamond, right? So he's about to go to that on. That's where it's at right now,
Mhm.
and then out pops Void again. Now, why is he allowed to play with it?
Pause.
Isn't it her turn still? I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Well, he stole it and stabbed somebody, so I don't know. It because even before he got to the double pointed thing, wasn't he the one that stabbed the one girl that was like friends with the with her brother and his
Yeah, Nora.
boyfriend and stuff?
Yeah, why
Yeah,
was he
so
allowed to steal it then?
Listen, they played a little bit fast and loose with
Yes, they did.
with
Yes,
some of
they
the
did.
logic on that one.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Yes. I believe that is true.
Yeah. Better not to try and poke holes in on the logic on that one, because I don't think it was really that really thought about that much.
But did the deaths get better?
Yes.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I left some deaths out.
Mhm.
So I didn't go and say all the deaths, but they got better, right?
Yeah.
No, they absolutely got better towards the end of the movie. It just the they always say first impressions are everything. And when that
Mhm.
first one happened and then like the next one happened and you're just not seeing anything, I was like, oh no. Like I was a little nervous. I was like, are we just not gonna see what they do to these people? Because like that was one of the big things in the old movies. But they correct that. It just took a little bit.
I mean, are the fans a little spoiled going into this though? Where we did see these massive creative deaths from first death in Hellraiser and all the other
Yes.
Hellraisers. Are we a little spoiled going into the reboot and thinking that we kind of deserve that?
I just
Yeah, I
find it
guess.
really, really interesting that you're defending something to have such a slow start and build up, and how the end of it like is suddenly the shit. And it's
Mhm.
literally the situation as sinners, and you're giving me nothing but grief for it. I find it very interesting. This selective preference on this one.
Mhm.
All right. Well, I'm just gonna say this is 121 minutes.
Okay.
So this is an hour and 41 minutes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. It didn't give us a whole lot of character development on the Cenobites.
No.
It gave us character development on the victims, which I think
On
was
the
good because y'all are kind of sad that Matt doesn't come home, right?
eh,
You are a
They
little
could-
sad that she chose something else, but you understand why.
Mhm.
You know, So I was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
not enough character development.
not enough character. We need another 40 minutes of that.
I need another 30 minutes.
Another
30
30.
minutes would have been ideal.
But that's what the sequel's for, apparently.
If there is one, which
That's
currently
true.
that's unknown.
We're not sure.
And I think that's the thing that makes me nervous is given the time frame that this came out. I mean, granted, they got a deal with Hulu, and so this thing's
Mhm.
on there. It's probably done pretty well for itself, but
Mhm.
how well has it done well enough that they're willing to do another movie? That's what
Sure.
I'd be curious about.
Well, this I
Sure.
think had a $14 million budget.
Mhm.
I don't know. Like, I'm pretty sure. Like, if they're looking at it from a streaming standpoint, it might have made that money back, but I don't think they've. I don't know if they have a report pointing to that type of deal, but I mean, it wasn't a bad movie, and it kind of deserves a sequel to some extent. But people gotta stop doing the traditional, like, hey, let me steal it and then open it up later, or let's no. What was the deal? They were stealing the box, and then they were playing around, talking
Mhm.
back and forth while they're in the process of stealing. Like, I get it.
Mhm.
We find out later that it was kind of like a setup kind of thing, but
Mhm.
if you're stealing something, get out of there. Like, isn't there an
True.
alarm or some cops that might be coming, or maybe the owner will come for it? No, we're going to lollygag and
It
stand
wasn't in the
around, and
budget.
they definitely could reduce the budget. Maybe cut it
Mhm.
down to like an hour 30 or hour and 20 kind of minutes or
Mhm.
type of deal. But yeah, I hope it gets a sequel. But at 14 million, I don't know. I haven't heard any. Oh, it's greenlit for a prequel or a reboot sequel or
Yeah.
something. So we'll
Yeah,
see.
makes me nervous.
Something. So, who's this? It just says film. I don't know.
Mhm.
It's film website.
Film website. Ah, yes.
Film
Where
website.
That's where I go for all movie news. It's the highest of quality. So
So
what did they say?
apparently, let's put it this way. Apparently, there have been various attempts at sequels.
Mhm.
Lament was supposed to be another Hellraiser sequel. And stuff like that never got. So, I mean, they always go back and forth with Hellraiser and something always comes out. I mean, we didn't know that. I mean, remember 2000, what was it? We had a good run from, let's see here. So, we had a good run from, let's see, 1987, 1988, 1992, 96, 2000. It was running pretty much every 4 years. Hellraiser was 2002, 2005. They actually had two come out in the same year. Hellraiser, Deader, and Hellworld came. And they were both directed by the same guy, right?
Oh Jesus.
But it
Okay.
took them 6 years. 6 years to bring out Revelations. It took them another 7 years to bring out Judgment. And then when we thought we weren't going to get any more Hellraisers, they came out 6 years later to give us another one. So I don't necessarily think they're done with this. Clive Barker is.
Mhm.
Sadly.
Doug Bradley is. But I don't
Sadly.
necessarily think that the studios are.
Mhm.
Because they know people are going to watch it.
Yeah.
I mean, would you watch another one?
Yeah, I would. But I think I think given the time frame and given the reception on this, like it did okay, but it's probably going to be on ice for a while.
Probably. We'll probably get one in what? It's 2005, 25. So it's been what? 3 years. We'll probably see talk of it in another 3
2028.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably about right.
Because the guy that did Judgment, he said that he's very disappointed that he didn't get to do his second one. So Tunnicliffe, that's his name, Gary J. Tunnicliffe. He said he still owns the rights to the characters. So I guess that was his
Really?
contract deal. Yes, he still owns the rights to that. So he said, "I'll just write a book."
Okay, cool. Let someone else make a movie since his was
Yeah.
not good.
I wouldn't say it wasn't good. I would just say it's not the taste of everybody.
Mm.
Mm. That sounds like a nice way of saying not good.
I,
It's an acquired
Sounds
taste.
yeah,
I
sounds
didn't
like
say it was
the
an acquired taste.
yeah. Listen, I
I'm
heard a
not
lot
gonna
of
say it's
people
acquired.
say it's an acquired taste when I was in the beer industry. People be like, "Oh, what do you think of that beer?" "Oh, it's an acquired taste." Nah, that's a
Okay,
really good
no,
way of saying like, "No,
no.
that sucker tastes like Band-Aids."
Okay, let me
Yeah,
clarify
dirty
something.
baby
I
diaper
didn't
and
say
Band-Aids. Those were the
no,
common
no.
bags.
I'm gonna stop you right there. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it's an acquired taste. I'm saying if you don't have the original taste for this movie, you're not going to get it if
Mhm.
you watch it.
I don't know about that. I
Okay,
I
you
think
watch it and then tell me.
of that specific one. Well, yeah.
You,
No.
judgment only. I'm not talking about the other ones. The other ones are fine. Like they're weird sometimes, but people can get over the weirdness. I mean, 3 was weird. Um Deader was weird. A lot of people didn't like that one because it was kind of weird and a little confusing. But in general, Judgment is the oddball. And if it's not your type of movie, you're not going to acquire it.
Mm.
It's for a specific audience. That's why maybe it's best he writes a book rather than
Yeah, since
puts
he
out
was
another one.
making a movie for an audience that doesn't exist.
Yeah, I liked Inferno a lot, but it seemed so low budget. It was.
Mm.
I'm gonna agree with that. It was.
Oh, Russians throwing some shots at beer. No, not all beer tastes like
Uh-oh.
Band-Aids. Not all beer tastes like Band-Aids. Uh,
Mm.
specifically,
Mm.
specifically, if the brewery doesn't do a good job and they don't get the beer in time, beers made with Brettanomyces or barrel aged sours tastes like Band-Aid.
Mm.
Okay,
We
now we
used
have a beer expert. Okay.
uh, so okay, yeah.
I need to
So
know what your expertise are. I know what
okay,
fuzzies is.
sure. So I was
Wait,
in
what?
the industry for 7.5 years.
Mhm.
I was in the process of doing a bunch of judgings for beer tastings and panels and stuff. I did in-house tastings from barrel batches that we were doing of barrel-aged beers. I was on the way to getting my Cicerone, which is basically like the beer side version of a sommelier in the wine industry.
Mm.
So that was very much my wheelhouse, and I had been brewing for I think about 10 to 12 years personally.
Mm.
Mm,
Nice.
So
that's good to
so I
know.
so I got some beer chops to get off my back.
There you
Yeah.
go. There we go. We all know what Fuzzy's expertise is.
No, I have
We
no idea.
won't give it a
What are we
name
talking
right
about?
now.
What are we talking about?
We were talking about pearl necklaces earlier. Is that what?
No, you being the beer connoisseur, you'd probably laugh at my choices in beer. Like for the
No.
most part, not the biggest beer fan, but there are certain ones that I'm okay with. But like my typical was Coors Light, which I know is water in a can kind of thing. But that was like the whole point because I didn't really care for taste of beer until they
Sure.
came out with things like Yingling Light was good in my opinion. I don't know if you get it out in Utah or not. I know it's
We
more of a
got the
local
regular.
thing out here. Um, then we got the Victory Brewery out here as well. They
Mhm.
got what do you call it? Like some of the orange beers are okay, and I know that's like heresy for a lot of people. And then the not passion fruit. What the heck is it? Uh it's like a citrus, but grapefruit. That's it. Grapefruit beer. I know it's not the true meaning of beer, but
So you're
it works
talking
for
like
me.
Schofferhofer and some of those ones.
Yeah, like and
Okay.
I would say the one that I probably had the most of was like some of the coffee beers or like the darker brews. But like my
Mm,
personal favorite, like that's probably an acquired taste is what do you call it? Guinness or Black and Tan. Um,
gotcha.
that's because it's a smoother, more not really. It doesn't taste better to me. It just goes down smoother, and it's a good thing to mix with um, for like Guinness milkshakes. I know people are like, "Why would you drink a Guinness milkshake?" But
Because
it,
it's
it
delicious.
yeah, it is delicious. And then
It's
uh,
partly a carbonation thing because you're going from CO2 to doing the nitrous.
mhm,
Which, granted, in the cans, it's usually like a fudged nitrous or a faux nitrous.
yeah,
But you've got smaller bubbles. So, in general, in the body of the beer, it's a lot smoother
mhm,
because it's smaller bubbles throughout the beer. So, it
yeah,
just makes it smoother and goes really well with ice cream.
yeah. Hmm. Learned a lot today. Yeah, but
Uh-huh.
yeah, I'm not the
Uh-huh.
biggest beer connoisseur by any stretch of the means. It's like, yeah, there's some I like. I was more of a Bailey's and coffee or
Mm,
um, Captain Morgan or Kraken and Coke or I forget what the name of it is, but it's almost like a tea rum kind of thing. Uh, what the heck was it? That Fireball or something? Is it
Firefly.
Fireball?
oh, Fireball's whiskey, cinnamon whiskey.
Yeah, that's cinnamon. No, it's
Okay,
Firefly.
Firefly. Okay,
Mhm.
Firefly. Huh.
Yeah.
yeah,
I don't
it
think we
works
get that
well
one.
with tea. So if like I usually I'll drink that like if I'm getting a cold or I feel I'm getting a cold, it's like that's
Hmm.
my equivalent of
A hot
NyQuil.
toddy.
Yeah, pretty much.
Gotcha. Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, so
No, nothing wrong with light beers.
so my beer experience is this. After the third sip, don't give me the beer back.
What?
Yeah, I can take 3 sips of like Coors Light or Molson Ice or something, and
Oh,
that's the end of it.
well, yeah.
Mm.
It's because by then it's starting to warm up, and that's when it starts to not taste good. Um.
No, I'm sorry. It didn't taste good in the first 3 sips. It's just that
Oh.
my taste buds realized after the third one, don't do this. Don't pick it up.
So
Mm.
so we
Don't
actually
let
had
it come near me.
we had a couple guys when I first started off at the brewery that would come into the shop and they'd purchase a couple of our really hoppy beers, real high
Mhm.
bitterness, and then they would also grab like a couple lagers or whatever.
Mm.
But I saw a couple times like the guys would go out there and they had like a truck bed of cores or whatever out
Mhm.
there as well. And I asked one of our regulars, I was like, why do you come get these, but then you've got all those that you drink too? And he's like, well, what I do is I drink the really high bitterness stuff first. I'll drink one or two of those, and
Mhm.
then my palate is wrecked. I can't taste shit. And so at that point, it doesn't matter what I drink. So I could be drinking water or I could be drinking Miller, and it won't matter because I won't taste it
There you go.
anyways. So even if it's horrible, it doesn't matter. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, that's interesting. Interesting approach, I guess. So
Yes, yes, that is. Yes, that
yeah.
is.
Mm.
Anyways, sorry not to get us off on a beer tangent.
Yeah, so just to end this, let's see, we got all sounds like band-aids to me. And then we have I love beer but don't drink it due to IBS, so I drink
That's
whiskey
fair.
instead.
Mm.
And then of course a nice rum or tequila or whiskey or golden grain. Yum.
Yep.
There's that's where we're at.
Yeah. No, I feel that. I've got a Don Julio it's a Reposado that I'm
Mm.
drinking right now, and it's nice, nice sipper. So
Mhm. Okay. So I guess we can leave the ending for people to watch in case they want to watch this.
Mhm.
I would recommend it because I think it is um kind of the throwback to the original Hellraiser. It's just a different group of people. a different kind of situation to get out of. But it does have that feel. The deaths are a little slow in the beginning, but they do ramp up and they get pretty gory. But I think the ending, you have to see it because the Voight does get into a different predicament in the end. Because he didn't like his original gift, I guess. So yeah. But she does make her choice and she has to live with it kind of situation. But it is nice to find out who actually survived because there was an original group of, let me see, 2, 3, 4, 5, an original group of 5, and she's not the only final girl. Like Riley isn't the only final survivor. She's the final girl, of course, because we know what happens to Nora, but she's not the only one that comes out, which in most cases that doesn't happen. There's usually just one that survives and that's it. So that was a little different as well. So what did you guys think as far as a rating? Because while we are past 8 o'clock and Fuzzy's not like, I gotta go because this other podcast isn't going to be after this. Yeah, he's gonna break from, he only had 2 today.
Yeah.
But it's still 8 o'clock, and I'm sure other people want to get on to some other podcasts, maybe. So what did y'all think as far as what would you rate this?
Fuzzy, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll start. I gave it a 7. And I know that probably sounds like an average or like an above average kind of thing, but I only yelled at the screen a couple of times when they're not really wasting time, but going in like the opposite direction. It's like, hey, if your boyfriend is telling you, let's leave the house, as opposed to, oh no, we got to stick around and find my brother. No, you should probably leave, go back and get the car and get out of there, kind of thing. But yeah, overall, decent, suspense and tension, and even though the Cenobites were kind of weird overall, but that added to the fun of it. I just wish they would have had a little bit more gore from beginning to end, kind of thing. But overall, not a bad reboot. Compared to the first one, like I've seen the first one so long ago, I don't really remember that much in comparison. But I would say if you look at it, just go into it with the mindset of it being a reboot and not doing the direct comparison to the original. It's not a bad horror movie with some suspense and stuff like that, and a fairly decent kind of twist at the end kind of deal, or lead up to the end type of deal. But yeah, I feel it deserves a 7. Film, visuals, audio, all of those were great. Actors were pretty much felt believable for the most part. But yeah, it wasn't a bad movie. It's what I would recommend. It was a decent, watch for, with a loved one, or if you're into horror movies, just give it a watch. Don't try and compare it to the first. And, it works well as a reboot or a new take. That's all.
Yeah, so I'll probably land close to you on this one as well. I'm probably sitting maybe around a 6.5, close to 7. I do wish earlier on that maybe we would have seen more of some of those inventive kills and stuff. But like you said, you kind of have to take this away from the previous movies. And if you view it that way, it's a lot easier to kind of give it some grace. Because you're not going directly with, oh, well, the first one had to kill right off the rip within the first like 5-10 minutes. whereas this one also did, but you didn't see that grisly tearing of the skin and all that stuff. So I thought it was good. The visuals. I'll have to go back and watch the other ones and just see, but I feel like I remember those ones having more um, in regards to like the Cenobites, like some of the gory detail to the stuff that they went through. I feel like it was more intense than what we saw on the Cenobites in this. But again,
Yeah.
taking it by its own and stuff, and like going through this one, I thought it was pretty solid. It had a good amount of tension that it built up throughout the movie as you were going. The ending was definitely worth watching too. Some interesting ideas that they came up with when they get to that last little part. But yeah, I do hope that we see a sequel. I'm just not sure if we're going to end up seeing it soon. Because again, I'm thinking Fee's probably correct. Maybe 3-5 years from now, we'll see another one, which sucks that it's going to take that long because I feel like we're not seeing some of these horror movies we grew up with coming out as often. So,
yeah. Well, they got to build up a new audience and stuff like that. And for the reboot, I think it comes down to the fact that they wanted it to bring in a new audience that's kind of familiar with a certain layout compared to the original Hellraiser layout, which was gory death in the beginning. Let's just swing coming out. I think the younger generations aren't necessarily used to that because of Scream and some other ones that have come out that they liked. So yeah, but I would say in the line, I would say it was a 7. As far as a reboot, I would say it's an 8. And the reason why I say that is in the original one, I like some of the weird stuff. I think it added character to each one of those movies. So I actually liked Revelation. I liked Judgment. They were different, but they still were in the same universe. And I liked a few of the other ones too. But as a reboot, I think it did better than all of the other reboot attempts for other movies that have been series. Like some of the Halloween kind of reboot stuff didn't really go over well. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I liked it, but it didn't really, it was like just totally different movies. It didn't have anything from the source material from get-go, like Rob Zombie stuff, that's standalone stuff. Like, I don't really think it has much to do with the original stuff. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I just thought this was a better reboot than others I have seen for various series. But yeah, I think overall in the series, I would say it's a 7 because that music in the beginning was really, really good. They really matched that up well with the location that we were viewing and that whole kind of ambiance to the lead up to, her getting the box and her, doing this for Voight and then going straight into the party scene where we meet Voight and, his particular punishment, which I thought was very on point with his personality and what he wanted, which was, sensation and stuff like that. So, like I said, all these little details, no matter how much I describe to people, you just got to see it for yourself. And I think that's why people should see this. But yeah, that's where I would sit. And
awesome.
Here we go. 6.5. They're still talking about beer, by the way.
Yeah. The Fosters, we end up, Fuzzy, you guys probably get it different there, but Utah is, sorry, I totally just went right past what you said, Fee. My bad. about me. Ours, because
All right,
Utah
Matt.
is a bunch of baby back bitches when it comes to their percent.
Mhm.
Ours is sitting at 4% now. 4%
Mm.
or maybe slightly higher for the grocery stuff because
Yeah.
they moved it over there. But yeah, your guys' is probably closer to what they actually have out there.
Yeah. No, I think most of our stuff is below the 7 mark, except for like the craft beers and the IPAs and things like those. There are some that are like those higher numbers, like in the 14 range, but most of the stuff like your Budweiser, your Coors, and all that, they're like I last time I checked, and it's been probably 10 plus years since I drank any of that stuff. I would say was somewhere in like the fives and the sixes at the max, but it wasn't like I know our beers are weaker on this end, except for if you go to like places like Victory or Iron Hill and stuff like that. That's where they get you where it's like, oh no, you're only drinking one beer with your dinner, or you're falling off your chair kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Just because they tend to load those up, or the way they brew them, they definitely have a higher content. So it's like, yeah, you're going to want to take an Uber home. You ain't driving home on just one beer type of thing. But
Yeah, Fuzzy's definitely gonna take an Uber home because he doesn't trust me driving him home in his vehicle.
just
I think it's
a
more
brief
like
background story. A couple of my coworker friends, we started off drinking, I guess, Miller Lite earlier in the day, and we got bored with that, so we went to a bar. And little Missy over here, being the bartender she is, she was like, "Oh, just make me a buttery nipple," and they messed it up. And I wasn't throwing away an $8 drink at that point, so I drank it. And then we decided to go to the Ink and Paper Club or something. I think that was it was like
it's a jazz place.
yeah, jazz place where, oh, they actually have real Guinness here. Let me have some of that.
Uh-huh.
And this is when you're in your early 20s and you're still learning that you probably shouldn't mix liquors, but when you're paying for them, you're going to do whatever, and that's what I did.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember going to the bathroom, and then they had to rescue me from the porcelain throne. And yeah, we're going home. And I had a manual transmission Jeep. All I remember is I'm sitting in the passenger seat and I hear grrr, grrr, and I was like, I'm good. I can drive. I'm good. No, just pull over here. I'll drive us home.
Because he
I
makes
promise
me
you.
nervous.
I was passed out. You didn't have to be nervous with me, but
I was driving. I was driving my vehicle, which was a standard, is a stick, and he'd still make me nervous.
Well, the
over
time you're
20 years
talking
ago, by
about
the
is
way.
because you were excited that we had paid the thing off in such a quick time frame, and then you ran over the line twice, and they thought you were drunk, and then they're going to ask me for the license, and I'm in the passenger seat.
I wrote a very long complaint letter to the chief, and he called me, and he's like, he's a loner. He ain't working for me again. I'm like, good idea.
But that's a whole nother story. That's
Uh-huh.
Yeah, no, we I'll have to tell you some stories off air, but we did have a couple releases of we had a barrel aged peach and a barrel aged imperial stout that had coffee and cocoa nibs, and both of them on that batch ended up hitting about 14.2% for those batches because they were first use barrels. And so we were all having to taste those and verify for like off flavors and stuff. And we proceeded to go through 30 different bottles between the two beers over the span of like an 8-hour day, where each of us was probably having at least 12 to 14 ounces of each beer. And it was a shit show. I stayed around for a couple hours after it was done and ended up actually taking the front runner back home because even standing still, things were moving. My brain was fried. So
Mm-mm.
Good times.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh man. So,
Well,
what's your review? Where you? Oh wait, no, you already said no. I mean, Cypher said.
see, you guys were talking about beer. You
We were
just
talking
totally
about
forgot.
beer. I just bounce
Just
back and
totally
forth too
forgot.
much.
Oh my gosh.
Probably time to talk about where they can find us, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. So before then, just to let you know, Monster Mania is going to be in Maryland, Baltimore. They are having it Mother's Day weekend. I believe that's what, the 9th to the 11th or something like that. Yeah, 9th to the 11th. So if you guys want to stop by there, they got some really good people. John Cusack is going to be there. Let me see who else. Yeah, they stack a whole bunch of celebrities for Monster Mania in Maryland, but they're forgetting about Cherry Hill, where I'm gonna show up, by the way. So let me see here, so you guys can see the various. Kiefer Sutherland is gonna be there. Kiefer Sutherland, John Cusack, Lou Diamond Phillips, Vincent D'Onofrio, guy in Full Metal Jacket, Criminal Intent, I believe it was. He was in The Cell. I'd like to meet him, but unfortunately, I'm going to be doing a movie at that time. Mike Coulter's going to be there, and then they're going to have Jason Patrick, Alex Winter, Billy Worth, from which Keith Sutherland is also was in the Lost Boys, so they're having a Lost Boys reunion. Of course, David Harold Thornton's going to be there along with some of the Terrifier people. Let's see, he was in Terrifier 2. Adrian Barbeau is going to be there. Dick Warlock, Tom Atkins, Stacy Neal Keaton. She was in Halloween 3. Jonathan Beck, who was Jeepers Creepers. Devin Swa. He was in Final Destination. Of course, Eugene Clark is also going to be there. So in case anybody wants to stop by there, pick me up a autograph that you can send to my house for Lou Diamond Phillips,
Or Devin Sawa.
Or no, that would be Matt. That would be Matt. That's his guy. But he's also in the Heart Eyes thing, wasn't he?
No, I don't know if he was in that, but he was in Black Friday.
Oh yeah, he's in Black Friday. Yep. So yeah, who else? Because I already got Jason Patrick's. Oh, Vincent D'Onofrio. If anybody wants to pick something up for me. But anyway. But yeah, so I will be doing a movie at that time around Blairstown, so I can't go. And then but I'll be at the Cherry Hill one in August, which I don't think we have anybody who we have set for August. I think nope, they just have Sting. They're doing the wrestlers. I'm not a big wrestler fan, so that's just me. Anybody else a wrestler? No, not that Sting. It's the wrestler Sting.
Nah, it's just like football. A bunch of sway dudes in tights groping each other. Just not really my thing.
Yeah, I'm not a big person for that, but Presto is, so.
Man, the acting in wrestling is worse than fucking Troll 2, so that's...
Are we gonna get into it? You guys gonna get into another argument?
No.
Because you tease Marty about Scream, right?
Wait, I tease him about Scream?
Is it you, or was it Kaneda that teased him about Scream?
Oh, that must have been Kaneda. I was busting his balls about Troll
Kaneda.
and Troll 2.
Oh, that's what it was. Troll and Troll 2. Yeah, I think it was Kaneda. Yeah. Yeah, somebody was teasing him about Scream.
Scream's great.
There you go. Yeah. So I seen the first one.
Wait. What? Oh,
You only
I've
saw
only
the
seen
first
the
one?
first one. Yeah, I've only seen the
Jesus.
first one. That's only because Fuzzy made me
Fuzzy.
do it.
Fuzzy, what are you doing?
I don't know why
She
she watched
5
the other ones.
movies
Like,
delinquent. God, man. You bust my balls about the movies I don't watch, and you haven't even watched. Mm. All right. All right.
You watched Pumpkinhead lately?
No, but it's not a good movie.
Ah, blasphemy. Blasphemy. Anyway,
mhm.
Anyways,
so those pictures that Fuzzy was taking, we will put some of me up so that you guys can finally see what I look like. Because
Mhm.
some of y'all don't know. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, Cypher does.
Mhm.
yep. You were cast as one of the backups in Troll 2, right?
Oh.
It's just gonna keep on coming.
Uh, in honor of Presto, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, yep. Nah, I'm ready for him to come back so I can bust him on that one again. You will never forget Troll 2.
So somebody, was it? So Crispy, are you talking about Basket Case?
Basket Case.
Yeah. Anybody watch Basket Case?
I have no
No.
idea what that is.
I think it's called Basket Case.
Unless you made me watch it, I don't remember.
Unless I
it.
made you watch it.
Yeah.
Unless I made you watch it.
But that doesn't sound like something that would be a horror film. I'm probably totally wrong on that, but
No, it was called Basket Case.
okay.
So Basket Case is a horror movie. Has anybody watched it? No?
Still have no idea.
All right. So real quick. Basket Case is about a man that has a conjoined twin, but the conjoined twin never actually became like an actual person. Basically it's a blob with hands
In the basket.
and a face, and he keeps them in a basket because
Oh
they
my
were
good
separated. You know what I'm talking
I
about, right?
may have seen that one. That sounds familiar.
Uh-huh.
As soon as you
Reborn
started
baby.
explaining it, yeah.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. And you guys never watched that.
It sounds familiar. I don't. Right. That's one of those that was probably like, oh, this is weird. Let me put it on Family Guy.
Yeah.
That's probably
Yeah.
what it was.
Gee, look at the time.
He's like, Fuzzy's like, yeah, I'm gonna go upstairs and play video games.
That's fair. That's fair. That was a weird thing.
Yeah. Well, I think he killed his girlfriend in the second one.
Mm.
Oh my god, they made another one last year.
Oh, there's 4 of them now?
Yeah, wait. Is this Oh, I don't think this is related. Never mind. This might be something different. Jesus. Okay. Well, it's on Tubi, I think, so maybe I'll give it a spin.
Well, yeah, I think you should. I think you should.
I don't know.
I think you should. There's 3 of them. There's only 3 in this one.
Oh, only 3.
There's only 3.
Only 6 hours. Gotcha.
Mhm.
Okay.
They're not even 6 hours. It's like what, 4.5 hours.
Dude,
For all 3?
Are you kidding me? Troll
Yeah,
2 felt like a week.
It was almost like Groundhog's Day or
one.
something.
No.
Yeah,
The acting is
exactly.
better in Basket Case. It's better.
Well,
Is that what we're
almost
watching for
anything
next
is
week?
No.
Basket Case. Yeah, we gotta figure out what we're gonna do for next week.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
will.
Yeah.
We will. All right. So,
Okay.
let's do the outros.
Mhm. All
Let's
right, I
go
guess
first.
I'll go first.
Yeah,
Um,
because you have the longest list.
yeah,
And the
yeah.
longest hair.
No, but this was awesome. Like I said, always love doing this with you guys, talking about these movies and just hanging out and shooting the shit. It's always a fun time. For those that want to hear my rambles and rants on anything gaming related, just follow me on social media, Fuzzy_Belvedere, or just do a search on the internet for Fuzzy Belvedere. You'll be able to find me. No Xbox Ultimate tonight, but we will have Pixelated Echoes on Sunday at 8:30 p.m. Me and 3-Bit. Just do a search for Pixelated Echoes. You'll be able to find us. Monday, I have Xbox Lunch Break Special with Mr. Boomstick XL on Double Barrel Gaming. And later that evening, FSP on Fun Speculations channel. Uh, it's where we kind of talk about games that are coming out during the week, all the games of next week, which we've been piled upon with games for this week. So hopefully there aren't too many games next week, because I still have yet to get a chance to get around to playing Oblivion and Expedition 33. So I'm behind the 8 ball on that one. But always glad to have people here. So many new names, seeing you guys in the chat. Thank you all for taking the time to check us out. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Subscribe if you haven't already. We greatly appreciate the support. Thanks again. And Cypher, let everybody know where they can find you and what you got going on.
All right. Well, yes, it was great hanging out with you guys this evening. Sad that we didn't have Presto, but I understand that he was upset when I bashed on his beloved troll, so he decided he couldn't be here this week. Sorry, guys. We've made amends. He'll be back next week, I think, so we'll be okay. But yeah, no, chat. You guys rocked. Thanks for hanging out with us. Always fun having conversation with you guys in there. As far as where you can find me coming up, always find me on social media. You can catch me on Blue Sky. God, I don't know. Threads, Instagram, a couple other ones I think as well. Find me on there, Silent Cipher. You can catch me on Xbox. Hopefully playing some games this weekend. You will also maybe if I find time to do it, may see me talking a little bit about The Accountant 2. We're going to be seeing that on Sunday. So hopefully I can do some stuff on that if I get the opportunity. Besides that, you'll catch me on, let's see, Double Barrel Gaming's channel on next Friday in the morning, hanging out with Boomstick and Fuzzy Belvedere and probably Korkenstein. And then catch me, of course, here Friday evening. One other thing I did want to plug real quick. One of my friends has a history podcast that they've done quite a few episodes in, and they took a bit of a hiatus. It's called Pan Historia is the name of it. It's got two folks in it, JP and Lindsay, that do the show. And they also have an offshoot called Other Nonsense, where they do some other topics and stuff, sometimes history related, sometimes non. So they're actually doing one that'll kick out this Wednesday. So if you're at all a history buff or like listening to another podcast, there's another option for you as well. JP and I are looking at maybe doing some weird podcast stuff in the future as well. So I'll keep you posted as things come into play. Might take a minute, but yeah, keep dialed.
Nice. And Fee,
All right.
let everybody know where they can find you and what you got going on.
So, besides what I talked about before, I have an Instagram now. So I'm gonna put some pictures up.
Oh shit.
So I will put it in on YouTube. I'll put it up there. But you can also on Blue Sky, and of course, y'all should have my email by now. I listed it. So yeah. But I'm also on Twitter. I do go switch between both of them, Twitter or Blue Sky. But yeah, you guys can always email me. And then I will have my Instagram up shortly at some point. Gotta get those pictures on first. That's Fuzzy's job.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes. Well, you gotta go through the
Preview
pictures.
list.
Yeah.
We got pictures on there that are not safe for
Not safe. Whoa, wait a minute. Hold on now. All right.
Goes into his private collection. So
This is
his private
going back to-
collection can't go up.
Going
No,
back
the
to
private
Fuzzy
collection stays the
Belvedere's-
private collection.
Yeah, Fuzzy Belvedere's pearl necklace collection. Noted. Not safe for work. Not safe for public consumption.
No.
So as soon as we go through the pictures and stuff like that, and I okay them, then we will go ahead and put them up, and then I'll see what I can put up from the setup I do for the movie in May, and then everything like that, because I don't want to give out too much of the film so that people go and see it and stuff like that. It's called Crimson Harvest. That's the first one. All right. So, but bye everybody.
Have a good weekend, everyone.
Later.